welcome. My name is Abbie McCarthy. I have the pleasure of hosting this next panel. It's called My Journey to Abbey Road, and I'm joined, as you can see, by three absolutely amazing artists. So can we get some noise for them, please? And hello to everyone watching at home on the live stream as well. I know you guys are going to have questions, but I'm going to go first. I hope that's all right. I'm going to hand over to the panel, first of all, to introduce themselves, although really they don't need much introduction, but we'll start with you, Mav.
My name is Maverick Sabre. I was born in Hackney, raised in County Wexford in the south of Ireland. I'm a singer, songwriter and producer.
Woo!
Hey, I'm Gracie, and I am, a songwriter, musician, and thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Hello, I'm Olivia Dean. I'm a singer-songwriter from East London, and this is my first time speaking on a panel.
Ooh!
Cheers to that, girlie. Cheers to that, girlie.
We'll mark you at the end, all right, but you're going to do just great. Obviously, we are in the iconic Abbey Road studios right now. I know that you've all got to record or perform here in some capacity. So what does this place mean to you? You were here more recently, weren't you?
Yeah, I was here on Tuesday, and we were recording a live at Abbey Road version of my next album. We tried to fit in 12 tunes in a day, film them and record them. We only got 8 done, but so for anyone who ever hears it, you're going to be a bit shortchanged, but the quality is good. And I think, for anyone who has any kind of knowledge of the history of Abbey Road, you know, everyone from Ella Fitzgerald to the Beatles, Eartha Kitt, Amy Winehouse. I'm a big Kanye West fan. He recorded his second album, and it was called Late Registration. He recorded the orchestral version, Late Orchestration. I think it was in Studio 1 or Studio 2. It was my first ever gig that I went to. I saw it in Dublin, and he performed it kind of live with a live orchestra. So a lot of magic has been created here. And I think the beauty about this studio is that it's passed that on from generation to generation, which is nice to see, like, quite young faces in here. I think the tradition of this studio and this space is a beautiful thing that, you know, should be carried on through generations. So I think it means the world to me, a space like this.
Absolutely. Well, that's what this event is all about, isn't it? The next generation. So absolutely. Gracie, what's been your experience here at Abbey Road?
Yeah, I really vividly remember first coming in and just being like, I still get like it. I got told off for filming in the hallway, so I was like, it's just signal. I'm trying to get this off. I think it's so iconic, and you can really feel like it's a music lover's dream, isn't it? You just come in and think of all of the people that have been creative in here, and there's something really special about being within the walls of places where your favourite albums have been made, and like you said, I'm a big Kanye West fan, so it's amazing. It's really cool. Yeah,
we're doing all right, I think, aren't we? So. And you're here doing your first panel, but what does Abbey Road mean to you? What's been your experience here so far?
I think the first time that I ever came here, I was singing backing vocals of Rudimental at the time.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what studio it was in, but they were filming a live version of their tune These Days at the time, and it was like a full horn section, and like Macklemore and Jess Glynn and everyone were there, and I was just there like, okay, cool, I'm in Abbey Road. So that was my first experience here, but then actually the second time I was here, I was singing a song that we wrote together. Called Baby Come Home, and it was just me and my guitar, and I was like, wow, now I'm here by myself, kind of on my own back, so that was really special. It's just got an energy, I think. It feels like definitely a milestone thing to record at Abbey Road or sing at Abbey Road. So
goals,
very lucky.
absolute goals, isn't it? So everyone here, raise your hand if you're a musician. Wow, okay, quite a lot then. Any producers in the room? Songwriters? Okay, amazing. Hopefully then you'll really enjoy this next question. I want to find out how you guys usually begin writing a song. Does the process change every single time, or have you got a go-to method? What would you say?
How do I begin writing a song? I think it's different every time, but I think I definitely start with lyrics. I think that's the nucleus of a song for me, and then everything else kind of falls from that. Just trying to find little things that mean something to you, like little turns of phrases or, I don't know, stuff like that. And then just sitting down at the piano, fleshing it out. And then I think production comes after for me anyway. I just like the song to be solid first and then the production follow, I guess.
I always find like it just happens so differently every time, but I always think like I'll come up with concepts and I'll just have like a list of random ideas in my notes or like in a random book that I will never find that page again. And then when you like sit down on piano or guitar or you start with like a beat, they kind of find the song, like the concept finds the song, and it just all kind of pieces together like that quite naturally. Like I wouldn't say for me, I wish like one would come first every time, but it depends. And I love, I think melody is really important as well because especially like internationally, like when you're singing, some of my favorite songs are in other languages and I don't know what they're saying, but I think the voice is so powerful and it holds a lot of emotion. So I tend to probably start more with melody, but I think lyrics are probably, as Olivia said, like the key, the nucleus to like really connecting with people. So.
Matt, what would you say?
Yeah, for me it's just about feeling a mood of something. I need to be engaged emotionally with something to get a story out. So for me it's always been, when I first started, I used to produce like boom bap beats. So I'd find like a 4-bar, 8-bar loop that emotionally connected with me. And then I think that would allow the melody to tell the story. And kind of like back to what you said, I think, you know, as vocalists, we forget sometimes that the voice is an instrument and tells a story without any of the words sometimes attached to it. So for me, it's always been about finding that loop that emotionally drags something out of me and allowing my voice to kind of tell that story and paint that picture. And then, you know, finding words and the story lyrically to go on top of it. But it's always, for me, it's very much so about the mood of the piece of music. I have to be immediately connected with it, or else nothing kind of else stems from that for me.
What do you do then if you're just getting nowhere with a song, or you get the kind of songwriter's nightmare where you've just got writer's block? Like, what are your tips and tricks to shake that off?
I wish I had tips and tricks.
Yeah, I guess kind of everyone wants to know that, really, don't they?
Bang your head against a wall.
For many hours, many days sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think sometimes it's good to stop and just maybe try something else, and then you can always come back to it. I think the best songs are the ones that just like happen naturally. So if it's not working, I think it's good to step away and not beat yourself up about it and be like, oh, like I can't get this, and just start something new. That's what I do anyway. Yeah, I wish I had a trick.
Yeah, I think that is the best. I think sometimes like we all probably, you know, everyone's a musician or a producer or someone creative in this room. I think the goal for most of us is when we naturally first come out with something, like you say, like the sketches of first melodies, when you hear something, I think there's gold in that. Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves and it's like, oh, well, I've got this beautiful chorus or this beautiful verse or this beautiful chord structure, nothing's coming out. And you can listen to things and over listen to things, and sometimes that can kind of like deaden your natural creative response in it. So I think you're right. I think sometimes it is, you know, the time to be taken away from stuff. For me, there's always something that I've always been brought back to, and sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm very inspired by visuals. So I put my favorite movie scene on loop, on mute, or my favorite music video on mute, or a painting or an image, and I stop listening to the music, and then I start listening to the music again. I take a break from it, and I put that on playing in the background, and for me that guides the mood. You know, if I've made a 4-chord guitar structure, and its mood matches the visual that I pick for it, that will help me guide if I'm in the right direction melodically sometimes, you know, if it doesn't naturally come out. So if that might be helpful to some of you, it might not be fucking helpful at all.
I would definitely agree with that. I always think like having something on in the background, I think like as probably everyone in this room is like quite creative, and like I'm someone that just gets distracted like nobody's business. So I'm literally like, oh, la la, trying to write lyrics. Oh, there's a bird, and birds are fun. And I think like if you try too hard to like focus on it and treat it like a job, it becomes so unenjoyable. So like if you want to spend 15 minutes talking about the wingspan of an eagle, do it, and then like get back to it and like just let your brain like play around. And I think if the song feels forced, it's 9 times out of 10 not going to work. So just like enjoy it, and if you're not enjoying it, pause it. I would definitely say though, always voice record and always like label your sessions properly. And then you can come back to it once you've like really like mulled it over a bit more, but don't just like, you know, just because you can't get it one day, ignore the idea. Like, make sure you label it, mark it down, and then come back to it.
Have you learnt that the hard way?
I've learned it very much the hard way.
Scrolling through your phone and there's like voice recording.
What does that mean?
523.
New recording.
Yeah.
And it's amazing coming to events like this. You know, as you said, you're all songwriters and producers and artists, and you can all kind of network and hopefully form some amazing collaborations off the back of this. How do you guys go about finding, you know, collaborators? What makes a really good songwriting partner or a, you know, the perfect producer to you guys?
Good question.
I would say that you always have to try working with someone more than once, 100%. Like, everyone has off days, and everyone has days where, like, things are going on in your personal life, or, like, you're just not quite catching the vibe. And I've had moments where I've come out of a session with someone and I'm like, nah, I'm not going back, that was rubbish. And then literally the next time, we've written some of the best songs I've ever done, and it's like, everyone, it's just like, it's like a flow. Like, if you get in the rhythm with someone, it's magic. So I think working with people as well that maybe you wouldn't align yourself with naturally is actually so sick, because you come up with the coolest stuff. Like, I'm a pop artist, but I always tend to work with people that are way more left than me, or like different genres, because you end up making the most interesting material through just like learning about someone else and how they do drum patterns, or how they like, you know, maybe you're trying a chord sequence that you're not used to and you have to think of other melodies. Like, it's cool like that, I think. That the main thing is you get on with the person. If they're I don't know if I can swear, so I'm just
They're not a nice person.
yeah, if they're the worst, don't work with them. Like, yeah,
that's a general rule, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think like that's kind of like, that's pretty key to it. And find someone that challenges you, you know, and wants to get the best out of you, not just challenges you. You know, people can be just rude. Yeah, not rude challenging, like actually like, you know what, you can do better than that, because then you will always know that they're getting the best out of you for the right reasons. And I think songwriting's like, it's a precious place to be. We're all in this space. We all call ourselves creatives because we're passionately attached to things. So you have to, you know, it's like a friendship. You have to know that someone's getting the best out of you. If a friend's just like, yeah, lad, everything you're doing is great, and they never challenge you, say, do you know what, you need to be pulled up on something. You know, that's not you're not allowing the best thing to come out of your character. I think sometimes that's the same relationship in music, you know. And I think, for me, I've always enjoyed people that I've written with for my own stuff and that I've written with for their stuff, the ones that, we can do better than that. And I know it's from the right place. I think that just gets the best out of us. You know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think also when I first started doing like sessions and getting into songwriting, when I wanted to be an artist, I think it's good to work with almost as many people as possible, because you don't know who's the best person for you, you don't know who's the right producer, what sound you want sometimes. So I think it's good to just put yourself out there and just go to the room, turn up and be like, hey, this is what I've got, what are you saying? And then you'll find that person hopefully eventually. But yeah, I completely agree with that point. I often like working with people that are like, I think you can get a better lyric than that. I find that more exciting than someone just like, dope, like, this is fire, bro. I don't really enjoy those sessions because it's like, I don't know, you're not challenged.
Because I'm nosy, I want some examples. Can you guys give me like somebody you've worked with where you're just like, yes, that was so great?
What's that naming and shaming people? Like, don't walk with them.
No, only the good. We're only here for the good today. We'll save the shade and the tea for another day.
There's a songwriter that I've written a few songs with called Egg White. I don't know if you guys remember. And he's just like crazy. Like, you go to his house in Shepherd's Bush and he's like built this sort of basement studio. And I think working with him was the first time I worked with someone where I felt completely like uninhibited to say my ideas. Because sometimes when you're working, you'll like have a thought and you'll be like, oh, I'm not going to say that out loud. Like, that would be a weird lyric. Or like, oh, like, I think maybe that go down like a lead balloon. But he was so just like explosive. Like, he just says everything that comes into his head, and like not all of it's good, but it allows you to feel like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking throw shit out there as well. And then in amongst that, you just get brilliant like lyrics. I find like I've written some of my favorite lyrics with him because I just think he has a way of drawing that out of you.
So he challenges you in them little moments that you don't, you know, you think you might keep these in. He's got this little voice recorder hanging around his neck that he records everything all the time. And he's a great one. He's an example of like, you know, the kind of most left or extreme spectrum of where you might not go. He enjoys that. But again, working with like Egg, who's a good example, is you know that his intention is to write the best song in the purest way, and I think they're the people that, if they can challenge it and you know that their intention is pure, so.
Does he still use a pencil as a pop shield?
I don't know, but he uses
He
a
uses a pencil
screwdriver.
as a pop shield instead of just using a pop shield. He's just like
What, you just put it in front of the mic?
adamant that just a little pencil does the job. And I was there like, okay, I don't know about that.
He's written some great tunes, so
Yeah,
I'll go with
but
the
you
pencil,
know what?
you
You've written some hits, so let's go.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Who would you say you've loved working with?
Do you know what I did, and kind of where I've spent a lot of time recently in here is with Nile Rodgers.
Well, hang on, name drop. Bloody hell.
And yeah, he's written some of the greatest tunes of all time, and he was quite an interesting. For me, it almost still feels like it felt like back to my early sessions, like jamming in the room with kind of no intent on necessarily like let's write a hit, even though it's Nile Rodgers and you feel like I need to write a bloody hit, like. But in a way that was quite freeing because it felt like a jam session, but it also the guidance of his kind of the history of his depth of knowledge of music was in there, but it was kind of like this silent guidance in the background while we were still jamming, if that makes sense. So it was kind of the best of both worlds.
Was he just dropping like pearls of wisdom?
Yeah,
few minutes.
yeah, really interesting stories, and there was a backstory to everything, and it was like, never done in an egotistical way, just in a really like beautiful, informative way, which is rare in music, So.
Yeah, love that. Gracie, how about for you?
I think for me, it's always like the closer I am with the writer, the better my lyrics are, 100%. Or, like completely controversially, if I don't know them at all, and I think I may never see them again, like
You can just be open.
there's no in between. Every song is either like my first single, Different Things, is like the most emotional song I had ever written, and I'd sat in the corner like curled up on this like leather sofa like wearing leather trousers sticking to it. And the guy, Alan, at the time I just met, and he just let me do my thing, and he just let me I was feeling really down and I didn't really want to socialize, and he just let me be in my own head. And I think whenever I've written songs, it's like whoever can just let me be in the emotions. I don't have to pretend, It's like quite difficult sometimes when you feel like you have to be this artist and you go into the room and I started as a songwriter and I'm not used to being like, I'm an artist and I'm this big personality. Sometimes you just need to be a person and you need to sit down and have real conversation and a real chat about how you genuinely feel. And realistically, if you're feeling awful, you don't really want to sit and chat about it with a stranger. So it's either let me do it on my own, or let's talk about this person for 50 minutes and then we can write for literally 5 and then go to the pub. So that's kind of how I work.
Love that. All of you, of course, are absolutely smashing it. That's why we're so pleased that you're joining us today. But I wanted to ask, do you remember the moment that your music really started gaining traction? You were kind of like, okay, I think this is happening. And when was it?
We were just Olivia.
Everyone's like, I'm Olivia.
You look ready. You were doing this pose.
Oh, that's
It's like that's the panel.
That's the panel pose.
Panel fit.
I'm going to start doing this.
I don't know. I think maybe when I thought, this actually could go well, maybe people like my music, I think I released my second single ever. And the first one, I love, is kind of upbeat, quite fun, but the second one really felt like an offering of something quite personal. And it felt like a bit of a risk putting it out because the guy I was seeing at the time, it was quite scathing about him. I was like, I'm going to put it out anyway, I don't care. And I did a music video and kind of recreated the whole scene of the argument that we'd had and got someone to play him who kind of looked like him, sadly, in the end. So
That's brave though.
Listen, guys,
That's
I'm really
brave.
taking risks.
That's
Pretty
deep
on
for
the
him.
For the art, man.
Put it out.
But it was worth it because I got a lot of messages from girls being like, you've articulated something that I hadn't really heard expressed that way, but thank you for articulating that. And then I was like, okay, I figured out why I'm doing this. This feels right now. That's what I want to do. So I think, yeah, it was after that. After that big risk.
Yeah.
And then we're not together anymore, sorry, it's fine. But I got a lot of, you know, other people in my life through people coming through my music. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
How about for you?
Yeah, I think everyone's got their own concept of like when you feel like stuff has connected the most. For me, it was just, I think it will always be, I did Jules Holland when I was like 20, and I grew up on Jules Holland. And
It's a moment.
that was always the go-to that I used to watch with my dad when I was a kid, and I loved the fact that you would have had like you know, a Damon Albarn beside a Dizzy Rascal beside you know, whoever was performing. Was always an eclectic mix, and for me it was more personal. Of like, you know, I got to bring my mum and dad to BBC studios, and I told my dad not to stand up during the performance. He was seated in the air, and he stood up for some reason. Like, he was like this, and I could see him in the shadows in the background. I was thinking, bloody hell.
That would have been me. I would have been like,
But-
my guy, come on.
Yeah, but for stuff like that, that was for me. It was like, this was a really kind of like, I don't know, full circle moment. That I was like, yeah. For me, it's personal things like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about for you, Gracie?
Yeah, a similar like full circle moment. Like what I like. Well, yeah, you went to Brit as well, didn't you? Yeah, we both went to Brit school, and like this year, like I'd started as an artist, and I'd also had like a vocal surgery the year the month after I released my first single. So I just really thought like the world was against me, and then we went into a pandemic, and I hadn't toured, and I was like, this is a nightmare. And then like randomly through lockdown, one of my songs just like took off, and like. I was just really full circle. We ended up getting nominated for a Brit Award, and I just was like sitting at the Brits, just like, how am I here? Like, because it'd gone from nothing to like sitting in my bedroom thinking nothing had changed to like then being nominated for a Brit, and it's just, I still actually can't believe it. Like, it was just wild. And I think it's like, even though maybe I didn't have the like full experience of like what it was like to have, you know, that it was still really like that as a moment was really fulfilling, and it was just like, oh, that's really, it's just a nice like keep going kind of thing, because it's difficult. You definitely get times where you feel like you want to give up. So not that I don't think any award should represent if your music is good or not, but I think it's just a nice recognition and a little keep going forward, you know what I mean?
And it was well deserved. That song was everywhere.
Thanks.
And still bangs. What's your favourite thing about being an artist? As you kind of touched on there can be moments where maybe you doubt yourself, and there are, you know, can be some kind of negatives to being an artist. But what are your favourite things? Like, what makes you absolutely love this job?
I think for me, again, it's like the personal connection, being able to, for me, you know, the reason I got into music, I was brought up around a lot of live music, and it was always a heavy, like, my dad was big into blues when I was a kid, but there was also an influence of growing up in Ireland of like traditional Irish music and folk music, which was always like telling the history of Ireland, a lot of pain and struggle, and kind of giving a voice to voiceless experiences. And I think, you know, for me growing up, it was always music that had that element to it that I connected with the most. So that was kind of the natural music that I wanted to write. And I think for me the most rewarding thing is being able to travel around the world and, you know, make a living and kind of live a life still being able to connect with people. So I try and always maintain that element that as much of the music that I make or I'm involved in connects with the heart and has some healing element, whether it's for myself or for someone else. And I think for me anyway, once I can keep doing that, you know, that will always come back and be rewarding for you as a creative, and also for someone else. You know, we've all been healed by some song or some artist that's changed our lives or brought us out of a dark space or made us feel like we're not alone. And, you know, for me, that's the reason I do any of this.
I always think that must be so amazing, knowing your songs have done that for somebody else. Like, that's the most beautiful thing, isn't it? How about for you guys? What stands out as like top things?
I think, like, kind of just to put it plainly, like, you get to create something that wasn't there before. Like, you get to make something, and depending, I don't know what kind of style your songwriting is, but for me anyway, like, you get to timestamp like a moment in your life and like put it into 3 minutes and, you know, describe it exactly how it was to you, and then that's there forever. Like, I always think about it, like, when I put music out, like, my great-great-grandkids will hear it one day. And they'll be like, okay, that's what great-great-granny was going through. Like,
She was feeling that way.
yeah, but it's crazy. You get to make something that wasn't there, and then, like, I don't know, and that's your little stamp in the world. So that's why I love being an artist. I think it's cool. And also, as Mav said, like, just getting to play for people and travel. I haven't done that much traveling yet, but I'd hope to. But just doing shows in London, like, it's just magical. I don't know, just like playing songs that like are so personal to you and like very specific, but then they take on the life of their own. They become so specific to other people as well. I think that's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to put it. Like, it's so weird when I find it weird, like, I've just started doing like live shows and stuff, and like seeing people sing songs that have come from your brain. Right. It's just weird, like, because it's like you said earlier as well, like getting messages like with people actually saying how much these songs have meant so much to you. And it's like, music is about connection. It's about like connection or escapism, or like just being able to like jump into another person's world and see like the world through their eyes. And I think it's nice to just kind of put that vision into the world and just see who you can connect with and stuff. Like, it's like going to a girl's toilet, like at a club night, and you're just there like, I need to know better. That's essentially what I think my music is.
Nothing wrong with that. So what would be your top tips for any like young emerging musicians looking to make a career in the industry? Like, what would you say they absolutely have to be doing?
Changes so much, to be fair. Like, since I think like every year you have to like, it's another thing is introduced. Like, now, to be realistic, like you have to kind of be on social media. You have to be like pretty active on it, and it can be quite like creatively like a creative hole when you're trying to be in the studio and you have to like post and do everything. But I think the main thing is just make sure, like, the thing I've learned this year, which has actually been quite a big journey for me, is like coming to terms with the fact that not everything has to be perfect. Like, if you're feeling something at the moment, don't think about how, if you put it out now, it doesn't matter if you don't relate to it in a year's time. Like, it matters to you now, and someone else will be in that space, and that's what's important. So like, just do what's good for you now. Don't think about too far ahead. Just like keep going with where you are now, and focus on you. If you look at everyone else, it's gonna become like you're just gonna morph into someone else. You need to find your thing and just run with it.
I think that's so true. I think it's really easy to like look at what everyone else is doing and be like, okay, I need to do that. Like, that's working for them. Okay, they're posting this much a day. Really, I don't think there's any such thing as being cool. Like, what's being cool is just like actually being like yourself, like your authentic self, which is kind of hard to figure out sometimes. But I think when you're trying to copy somebody else's stuff. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. Just try and be authentic to yourself. And just write as much as you can, even if it's shit sometimes. You have to write, I think, at least like, I don't know, 10, 20 songs to get like maybe one good one, and that's actually fine. Like, you can't, everything you make be perfect. It's impossible. So you have to get comfortable with making not perfect things before you make really good ones. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I would reiterate that point again. I think we're in the age of seeing way too much and comparing not just our creative lives, but our lives in general to other people. And it's hard to switch off, especially feeling like you need to serve, your pure creative heart and then your online presence. And, I think there's a beautiful balance that we can try and find, even though the social media technology era that we're in makes it bloody difficult for a lot of us, Because normally if you're a creative, the tech side of things is a bit like, like you said, I'm in the studio, but I have to think, I have to keep updating the followers, and I need to sell tickets, or I need to, get more streams, so I need to be engaging. It's finding the balance of both and keeping unique, and like you both said, of making sure that that your uniqueness is beautiful, and that's the things that other people will connect with the most, because, the copycat era is like, if you hear 100 different versions of someone, by tomorrow, by next month, there's going to be another artist, there's going to be 100 different versions of them, and you'll never really cut through. If you want to like win people's hearts by being unique, and you'll have a career for 40 years when your singles aren't in the top 10s anymore, and you can still sell out venues and still you know, have a roof over your head. I think another important thing is learning the business side early, which is something I didn't do very early on. I came from, you know, as most of us do, we're young creators, we're free, you know what I mean, on the dole, and learn the business side, with not allowing the business element to be like, everything needs to be stats, but learn the business side, you know, as songwriters, as producers, know your worth, and that comes with having some like business savviness to you. You know, don't let it, you know, encroach on the creative side too much, but just know what you're getting yourself into, because you'll have hits, you'll have moments, you'll sign deals, and you'll write songs for people, and make sure you know your worth in it. And because these things they can last forever, you know, they can last for long periods of time, and keep you, you know, in good economic state and allow you to create more. So yeah, find that balance of both.
Yeah, following on from that, you're talking about like the business side of things. How do you go about building a team? You know, how can you get noticed by a manager or a record label, or how do you find a lawyer? Like, how do you find all these things? Like, how did that work for you guys, and what would be your advice to the people in the room and at home?
I mean, I think I was very lucky. My manager happened to see me at a show. I was playing at school, and she just came up to me and was like, "Can I manage you?" And I just had a couple songs I'd written in my room at the time, and no one else wanted to manage me. So I was like, "Yeah, all right then."
Go on then.
And I've been with her since then, so I've been very lucky. So I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice on how to find a manager, but I guess what you can look for in a manager is in a person that you're bringing into your musical sphere, and like, they're going to be your sounding board for everything that you do. Like, if you write a song, they're going to be the person you send it to, and like, they're going to be sending it out to other people. So you need to make sure you're on the same page, and like, they get you like as a person, as an artist. Like, they're going to be in your life loads. So it's important to make sure that they're the right person. And yeah, it can be hard to find. I think I've been lucky, as I said, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they need, like, especially a manager, they need to be your kind of like your speaking board. They need to be going into rooms that maybe we don't want to go into all the time, because they're quite harsh spaces to be in as a creative, and they need to be able to sell you and sell your music as a writer, or as an artist, or as a producer, sell it almost better than you can. And like you said, they have to be on the same page, especially as a manager. I think be very in tune with, if anyone ever approaches you, be very in tune with how they speak about your music and how they speak about your journey. And if they don't align, then, you know, make sure you find someone that your vision of where you can go and where you're at aligns with how they speak about your music. I think that's very telling with people, especially managers. Like, you know, again, we're in the era people can speak a big, you know, talk a big talk, but if they don't get the vision, you can be easily misguided. Yeah, that'd be my advice on that.
I would say, like, like, as you guys said, like, manager is like your teammate, like your tag team, the person that you need to trust that that person is going to go into a room and is obsessed with you and is going to sell you like you are a diamond. And if you can't find that person, then that is not your person. Like, you need to get that tag team partner. I also think I found my manager through my lawyer, and I always say it, I think lawyers are the complete like underdogs of the whole music industry. Like, my lawyer changed my life. I met my lawyer because like, I put stuff up on SoundCloud, and then started writing for like a company called Xenomania, who were like they did like a lot of UK pop back in the day. And yeah, I needed a lawyer, got introduced to Victoria, and it's really amazing because she had no bias. Like, she was completely objective and just said, this person would work for you, this person would work for you, this person would. So if you can find yourself a little lawyer, then you can do a little management scout. Because sometimes it's really awkward to, you know, you start working with a manager. I wasn't quite as lucky. I did go through one or two before I found my management, but it is a bit awkward, and I'm an awkward girl. I'm an awkward girlie, so to try and be like, listen, this isn't working, it's difficult. So if you can find a lawyer that can really help you to find your team, that's what I would say. But, you know, they come about in many different ways, so just put yourself, that's why it's important to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's true. It's, I guess sometimes you don't know how you're going to get found. It could be a gig at school, something on SoundCloud, or you know, as long as you're doing all the right stuff, you're going to get discovered at some point, aren't you? I know everyone here is probably like, hurry up, I've got questions to ask. So I want to ask just a couple more to you individually. Obviously, Maverick, your next chapter of music is on the way. Your new album, Don't Forget to Look Up, great title, by the way, comes out in January. So tell us everything about it.
The record was, it actually started as being an EP. I released my third album in 2019, and there was a specific like sound to it that I had 4 tunes left over that didn't necessarily fit on the feel of the record, but they kind of still were in that pocket of that world. So I put that out at the end of 2020, and I had like 4 tunes that were going to be an EP. That I'd written in lockdown, and yeah, they just ended up, you know, the further we got on with lockdown, it ended up being a record, and kind of ended up, yeah, being a small bit of a reflection of where I was at in lockdown, and that's kind of like the body and the feel of the record, and the title is based off kind of, you know, I think you can take it in whatever way you want, but it was. For all of us, myself included, of the amount of time we spend engaged. This is back to the conversation about the balance of creativity and being engaged business-wise and on social media, of like, how much time do we not, you know, look up and look out and look in people's eyes, and that's a part of our storytelling. We are storytellers, and we need to engage in the human connection to be able to tell stories properly. So don't forget to look up. It's sometimes, you know, we can be locked in, whether it's in our own thoughts, in our own world, or locked into something that is kind of absorbing. Sometimes look up, look at the sky, look at your friend, you know, tell stories.
That's sick. I love that.
Yeah. So
And as an artist that's, you know, a few albums deep now, like, what have you learned? Because you must look back at your debut and be like, wow, I've really developed as an artist.
Yeah, it's funny because, yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and wicked musician, he's a drummer, and been drumming in like loads of really big bands over the years, and he was telling me about this record that he'd written, his manager and everyone loved, but he'd never put out. And he was like, then lockdown happened, and he got kind of more critical of it and more doubt. And as I was saying this to him, I was saying it to myself, because we all go through waves. Sometimes we're the most confident musicians in the world, and sometimes we think, you know, we're the worst. And I said to him, I was like, look, just remember, and it was really telling myself this, I was like, just remember that things are just a moment in time. They're a diary entry. Like you said earlier on, you know, be precious about it. You know, don't just, you know, release any old thing, yeah? But know that if you love it right now, let it go. Because it is a moment in time, and there's going to be more songs, and there's going to be more albums, and there's going to be more beats and productions and top lines, and sometimes it's just nice to be like, all right, that is what it is. You know, we can sit and pick things apart forever, but sometimes you just need to know that that's a chapter, and you're going to make, you know, some of the greatest artists in the world didn't have their successes until 5 albums. You know, Rolling Stones had, 35 albums over their career, you know. You know, some of the biggest artists of all time, Bob Marley had, like, you know, 5 albums with the Wailers before a lot of people, you know, it connected worldwide, and there's loads of different stories. Bill Withers was 30, sorry, I spat all over the place. Bill Withers was, 31 before he had success, so, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Realize that every bit you make is just a moment in time. Sometimes it's nice to just let it go.
That was really good advice. Gracie, you obviously started as a songwriter, like you touched on earlier. So what was the moment you were like, hang on a minute, I think I want to be an artist. I kind of want to step into the spotlight, release my own music. Like, what made you want to make that transition?
It was squeaky leather sofa moment. Yeah, it was.
Being like, I need to get this out.
Yeah, I'd just gone through like a really awful breakup, and I hadn't really addressed it until like I was sitting in this room, and then I was trying to be like, and then he started playing these chords, and yeah, the song, I wrote the song in about 50 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And which never happens. Like, don't think I'm some, like, that never happens for me, which is why I was so like, okay, girl is on fire today. And yeah, I remember getting the bounce and just knowing it was time. Because I'd always wanted to do it. I just never wanted to release music until I had something to say. And I don't think, you know, there's so many artists in the world, you kind of need something to say and you have to find your voice. And it just felt like the right moment. Like it's weird how things just align sometimes. And then from that point onwards, like just started developing around that song. And it all came together like that, really.
Do you approach it differently when you're writing for your own artist project than you are with writing with other people? Do you have to get into a different headspace?
I think so. It depends on, I guess, how well if I've worked. I usually have producers that I write for me, or sometimes I'll just start writing for myself on my own, or you know, it opens up a lot of opportunities because I love writing for other people. It's like, you know, it's so much fun, and you get to dive into someone else's world and someone else's experiences. So I think it's definitely different, but you shouldn't put too many barriers on it. You know, if it ends up being for me, it does. And the main thing is it's real. And actually, what I've learned recently as well, like if you start writing for someone else, you end up having worse lyrics. So just like don't put a label on it. Like if I'm writing for someone else, I'm writing, we're going to the club at 3, like generic, rubbish, no one's gonna cut it, no one is gonna care. So like don't be afraid to be specific with lyrics. Like go in, tell them what coat they were wearing, like, you know, say every little, what were you drinking, like how cold was it, like say the specifics. And then if an artist wants to cut the song and they want to make it about themselves and like re-edit it, they can, but yeah, just go for it full out, I'd say.
Okay, amazing. Olivia, I got to see you live recently at Live at Leeds Festival. It was amazing. I mean, also you played my gig night, you were amazing as well. How do you go about building a live show? Because I'm guessing there's new artists in here who, because of the lockdown, might not have even got to do any gigs yet. So how do you go about, getting that together and making sure it's super special?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the live side of things is like kind of my favorite part. Like I love being in the studio, but my mindset is writing songs for them to be performed live. Like I'm always thinking about the live show even when I'm writing, like kind of consciously. Like at the moment I know I'm trying to write like a few more sort of upbeat things because I know I've got in my set, you know, some more mellower things, and like I want my shows to be fun and people to have a good time. I think it's important with a live show to have an arc, you know, you want to ease people in and you want to welcome people in, like they've paid to come and see you. And yeah, just to kind of tell a story. And what I really love when performing live, and this is something that Paul Simon actually, I saw him live at British Summertime, but I've always kind of been obsessed with him. And I love that between his songs, he tells you really what the song is about. Like he'll be like, so this next one, da 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 da. Because even though you know when you're singing exactly what it's about, a lot of people might not. So I think it's really nice to tell the story and set the songs up so that they can be received in the best way. And yeah, just find a good band, I think. I think it's cool to play, I think anyway, with people your age as well. I like, because especially when you're first starting out and like you get to do your first shows and you get to go to places you've never been before, I think it's really cool for everyone to have that experience together and, I don't know, make it feel exciting still. That's just my personal thing anyway. There's a lot of older people that are amazing musicians too. I'm not saying that, probably better. But it's not, I don't know, it's nice to learn with everyone.
I get that. Before I throw out to questions, have you guys got anything to add? Like, how have you got like your live shows together? What do you think makes you guys stand out? Because also, two amazing live performers.
Again, I kind of think like the arcs tell a story, you know. I'm sure we've all been at brilliant shows and we've all been at shows that we probably wish we hadn't have gone to. And we've had like different experiences and we know what connects with us and you know what doesn't. And I think it's the art of being able to tell a story and know that there's, you know, enough movement in a set, because I think you want every moment to connect, whereas the upbeat kind of release, free, escape, or the like really intimate storytelling that you want people to really feel, be able to tell that, you know, and almost like reflect on your sets like you are, you know, a fan or you're an audience member of your own gig and how you would want to be engaged. And I think once you can kind of like grasp that, whether it's a 15-minute set, half an hour set, or an hour set, if you can kind of grasp that, I think, you know, there's a beauty of, especially when it comes into festival territory, where a lot of people come in and out of tense and they might not even know you. It's your opportunity to win people over. I think if you've got the right arc in your set that can grab people, you potentially have just won over a whole new fan base by just being able to, like, you know, tell your story and connect and be as engaging as you can in the right time. You know, so.
Yeah, I feel like it's quite scary starting live shows, I think, because I don't know if it was if you guys felt it after lockdown and stuff, or if it was just because I had not done any, but I felt like a lot of pressure because I'd not done any and I really wanted it to be perfect and I wanted it to be, and I think what I've learned is every live show is different. Like, even if you have the same set and you're doing the exact same set, some songs are going to connect better with other audiences. Some audiences are going to be mad big. Some are going to be like 2 people and your nan. Like, so every time you can learn something new, which I find so exciting. For me, I just want it to be like very, like, you understand what's going on in my brain when I was writing it. Like, if I have options to do lighting, I'm all over it. Like, I'm there. Like, I want it to be like a real time for the people in the audience to just, you know, if you want to scream these songs at the top of your lungs, you can, and it's therapeutic and it's amazing and it's great. My favorite thing, I love going to gigs. My favorite thing is like looking around at strangers and you've all connected to the same lyrics.
Yeah, I love
and you're literally just there like, we're kind of in a group chat. Like, this is kind of us as a group chat.
Yeah.
The whole of Ali Pali like screaming. Yeah, I think it's like really magical and really amazing, and it's so cool to be on the other side of the barrier and like to be standing and be like, do you know this one?
Yeah,
like,
I'm making this happen.
yeah, it's really cool.
Love it. All right, let's open it up to questions. If you've got a question, put your arm up. I'm not sure if we've got microphones or you're going to just project.
Shout.
God, this light, I can't actually really see. There's a
Thing.
question at the front here, though, isn't there?
This
Is there a
chap has one.
Hey, there is a microphone.
Start singing.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
So first of all, thank you for this conversation. Great insight, great questions. I'm a singer-songwriter myself, and people always tell me, as an artist, I have to know what makes me stand out. I have to know my artist identity, my artist brand. And I feel like, especially in the beginning phases, that's pretty hard to figure out, especially without having a team yet who can like advise you on that stuff. So I was wondering if you can give me any advice on that. Finding your artist identity.
Yeah. I don't know, I suppose it's what story do you want to tell? How do you want people to feel when they listen to your music? It's difficult because it is like we're in the age of like, you know, what's your story? Who are you? It's like, well, sometimes, especially in the early stages of creating, it's kind of like we're all throwing paint at the wall and like, you know, and sometimes it's only when you look back you realize, oh, well, this was my story. So not to put too much pressure on yourself for that. And I don't know, for me it's always like, what are people saying in their lyrics? And what's the natural stories that come out of you in your lyrics? And, you know, they could be really personal stories, or they could be, you know, love songs, or they could be, you know, as deep or as on the surface as you want. And I think, like, don't feel too much pressure to be like, this is who I am and I need to be stuck to it. Because like you were saying, it's like, it just creates this box around you sometimes. Well, then if that's who I am, I can't make this kind of music, or I can't say that lyric. You know, your story is exactly what naturally comes out of you. So just, you know, pay attention to, you know, the natural kind of stories that you're telling. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think I totally feel that pressure. Like, I've had that my entire career. I don't think it really goes away. Like, I think even when you have your thing, then people go, okay, what's the next album? Where are you, what's a new era? Like, you'll always have that. The main thing is, like, I think it's like, people want to put you in a box, like, especially being a female artist, I must say. Like, people think you can only be, oh, you're the funny brunette, or you're the pretty blonde, or you're the, like, diva. Like that's not a thing, because that's not how personalities work. Like, I am naturally quite a silly human being, but like, I can get depressed, and I can feel bad. Like, we are all, it's a spectrum. So like, don't put yourself into a box. You're going to limit your creativity 100%. Just like, if you want to be an up-tempo artist one day, do it. If you want to write a sad song another day, do it. Like, you can figure that journey out once you've written the song, and it will just form itself. Like, just listen to your mind and your heart, and you'll figure itself out, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Should we go to the back of the room? Sorry, I'm making you work here. Getting the step count in, yeah, towards the back.
You literally can't see it.
There was like a cluster of people, but 2 have just put their hands down.
That's a strong hand.
Hi, my name is Nayana. I'd like to say thank you so much for all the advice you've given us so far. Currently, I'm a singer-songwriter artist. I've been doing a lot of gigs at the moment, and I was just kind of wondering, like, what advice you'd have for like an artist who's trying to get like maybe a bigger slot on stage, maybe an opening for an artist, or maybe if you have any performances coming up that you need an opening artist for, like if you'd be interested in listening to my music and maybe seeing what I have to offer.
Love that. That's what we're here for.
So I think you've got the attitude for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
You have to put yourself out there, and if that's in a space like this, that's perfect. It's like, we've got to be able to be passionate about it. It sounds like, you just said, is there any slots on offer? I think that's the mentality. It's like, right, early doors, we've got to have that independent mentality. Now, when I first started, it was doing open mics. It was just perform at every open mic you could, someone will see you. Now things have slightly changed, I think, but being in environments like this and being able to go, yeah, come listen to my music. Have you got any slots? And I think, yeah, finding that balance and growing that as like, you've just grown as a support who's heard your name here now, and will register when I hear your name again. So I think your mentality is there for it. So I look forward to hearing some of the music. But
Thanks.
yeah.
Also, there's loads of like great sort of showcase nights in London now, isn't there, where you can start out, including my night, Good Karma Club.
Yeah.
You can apply to play if you like on the Facebook page. And I guess it's also worth saying, getting a live agent, right? Like they can help you get those big support slots for artists. And I think often they're open to just receiving your music, aren't they, and seeing if they're into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also just going to say, just do every gig that comes your way, like just do it. And even if it's really small, and then maybe you're looking for bigger audiences, you never know who's going to be in the audience. I also used to busk as well all the time. And just like, just do it all, because you never know.
Everything, be everywhere.
Yeah, nothing's too small at this stage, you know what I mean? Like, if you really truly believe in your music, play to one person in the pub, then it'll build, and that, if you believe in it, that'll be a fan for, for life, and it's just keep growing it. Like Olivia said, like play everything, do everything. Make sure if you're in an environment like this, you sell yourself well. It's kind of the same for doing as many shows you can.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get some more questions. Should we stay at the back for now, just to save you walking around? We've got 7.5 minutes before we get chucked out.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, thank you for everything you've said so far. It was really helpful. I'm a producer and guitar player and songwriter, and I've been so far working only for and with other people. And I was fortunate enough to play really big shows and everything, but it was never for me. And I want to transition and become an artist myself. And so I was wondering if you guys had any advice, like how to come about that transition from always like, I mean, you said you were a songwriter, for example. How do you go from, or do you have any advice for like actually starting to do your stuff for yourself?
Yeah, I found I would send my own music to like the A&Rs that I was like in contact with through writing for other people, or just like the people that, if you connect with someone on SoundCloud, start being like, oh, could I try and grab a track, or like, can I try and get a top line that is like slightly more towards this, and kind of just start like A&Ring yourself, like figuring out a direction that excites you. And then I think once you have a couple of songs together, like that kind of represents where you want to go, then you can kind of go and start doing meetings and stuff. But it is different for everyone. Some people need that team to begin with. Some people literally write albums and go to labels. Like some people release it completely independently. Like everyone's journey is different. I think if you know you're ready to start your artist project, like just have fun. Like start exploring like where you want to go. Like what do you want to say, what kind of like beats you want to make. Like, it's really exciting. Like, that's such a good place to be.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing it when it's ready. Let's get some more questions. Let's go for one in the middle here.
Hi, folks. Thanks so much for your time. Just a quick question kind of about like the social media aspects of it. So I'm currently in a band and I'm currently studying like the business side of things. And we kind of found obviously during lockdown, it was a lot easier to dominate kind of like your online presence and to work on that. But then kind of coming out of that, we've kind of quite struggled juggling both of them when an online presence is so important at the moment. So I just wanted to kind of figure out how you folks have kind of found that, and especially kind of working into like the live scene now reopening.
That's a good question. I guess as you guys have got really busy again, it's like, how do you do everything?
Yeah, it is finding, it's a difficult one. You know, I think all of us are still learning the balance of it. I think everyone in this room is probably learning the balance of it. It's like, yeah, how do you find that? Especially when you start getting busy and you have to, like, you know, when we're in lockdown and we're at home all day, you're like, looking at four walls, it's kind of easy and maybe dangerously easy to be so engaged. But yeah, it's finding, I suppose, it's finding the balance of making sure that your art isn't compromised by your engagement in social media. If you feel like social media is influencing the art and the music you're making, you've got the balance off. You know, it is a promotional tool. You know, that's what it should be for us as creatives. Are we using it? You know, if it means giving ourselves a specific amount of time every day to be like, right, this is how long I'm going to spend on it, and you treat it as a business and as work, which again, it's not designed. It's designed in that way to keep you hooked. So it's like, you know, only drink 2 pints. Well, alcohol is designed to make you drink 6 pints. You know what I mean? And it's finding that, you know, I don't know if that answers your question, but it is. I definitely find that balance difficult sometimes, especially around release time, where you're like, you feel almost obliged, or like you're losing out if you're not engaged more. It's like, you know, but it is, find that balance of, if it comes in conflict with your creative time, then we haven't got a balance right.
Yeah, I would just, on the back of that, say, like, try not to go into the mindset of making music, like creating something to put it on social media, or like creating a song so that it's the perfect like thing for social media, because I don't know, I'm kind of a social media phobe, to be honest. I kind of hate it. But yeah, as you were saying, it can compromise like the actual outcome of your art, and you need to input like creative things so then you can make it and then output it onto social media, like rather than the other way around. So it is so important. I'm definitely aware of that, but try not to, let the scale tip, because the music will just always come first, and like that's the thing that everything else draws from. I don't know.
Yeah, I think as well that obviously I completely agree, but I do think there are some perks, like we were saying earlier, like you can connect with people in it, and I find it really amazing that people can become friends on, you know, in fan bases, and like you just like chat to people, and it's just it's amazing. It's like what's so addictive is like you release a song and it's like immediate response to if people like it or not. And I think it's that, as great as that feeling is, like as soon as you can distance yourself from it and like focus on your own journey, and like again, as I said, like stop looking at other people, and like just use it in a healthy way, then it's great. Like there are actually so many perks to it. Like I think TikTok, especially as a new platform for new artists, is actually wicked, because it takes all the power away from like labels that have millions and millions of pounds, and it puts the power into the people. Like if it's a good song, it's a good song and people will like it, and the discovery rate is crazy. So there are some perks to it. It's just making sure we're not just, I mean, literally the title of your album is like, it's the one, it's the one.
Don't forget to look up. It's all about balance, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take one more question. I know you've had your hand up for ages, so let's go here. Sorry, everyone else. That's where I become the villain.
Thank you for the speech. I'm currently in my first year at the Brit School. I'm year 10.
Dope.
And I was just wondering, how has, studying music really helped you as an artist as well? Because obviously we all come from different places, and how has, I'm not sure if everyone is studying music or whatever, but how has studying music helped you grow as an artist yourself?
I guess, at Brit especially, that's dope that you're going, it's a very good school. It just opened me up to a lot of different genres. I learned about the intricacies of different genres that I didn't know about. I know about the genres that I grew up on and that my mum listened to and stuff, but even just being around other people that are studying music, you then just sort of inherit their, history of stuff and what they're interested in. Yeah, I love studying music, but I also think studying it too much, for me anyway, kind of or not suck the life out of it, but if you study it too much and try and become too calculated, but okay, so this is what makes a hit and this is what, a good song is, you can get too caught up in that and create barriers for yourself. So as long as you keep the intrigue of the study and keep it fun rather than I'm gonna, learn how to be a pop star, because I think that could be detrimental also.
Yeah, I actually didn't study music. I studied musical theatre, which I decided very quickly I didn't like, but I quite liked the vibe of Brit. What I liked about Brit is it was just you're surrounded by people that are have the same mindset as you, and you don't feel like a weirdo. At my old school, I felt so weird that I would run to choir after school la. But I think, yeah, like you said, just being around other people's music tastes and you go to, I remember going to the music shows and just firstly being extremely jealous because I was in my tap shoes, but just hearing songs I'd never heard or jumping into other people's songs that they'd grown up on and yeah, I think like Olivia was saying, the bounds of music, it's so good to know about music, but I think you can also learn so much from just listening to it. That's the only way I learned how to songwrite is just from rinsing No Doubt and Hayley Williams and living the dream, just living the dream. So I think it's amazing school. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
This timer is literally flashing more and more aggressively, so I am going to have to wrap up. Thank you so much for all your questions and being an amazing audience. And can you please make as much noise as you possibly can for my amazing panel, Maverick Sabre, GRACEY and Olivia Dean.
And Abbie.
Oh. That went so quick. I literally looked down and I was like, oh my God, I've got to